Part 56. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 551. Seeing this, everyone at the scene looked at each other and couldn't help but take a breath. No one thought that the battle between Ximen Huxiao and Junwu could reach this point. It turns out that Junwu is so strong. It seems that he really hid his weakness before. So what? The Hunyuan divine art is mysterious and extremely difficult to practice. I didn't expect Ximen Huxiao to have mastered the 8th form. This competition is over. It is said that the Hunyuan divine skill was recorded in a secret room in the Kunlun Mountains. It is a method left behind by the senior masters of the 10 ancient tribes. It can only be activated by true energy. However, Kunlun Mountain was later occupied by Suwuji and drove him away. After discovering the original ancient clan, Suwuji made changes to make the Hunyuan divine skill suitable for use by ancient warriors without losing its power. It's definitely coming to an end. Junwu doesn't have to fight anymore. Once the Hunyuan divine skill comes out, who can compete with him? I'm afraid a genius of Wudan King Yefozuwaji's level will have to go all out to deal with it. Someone told the origin of the Hunyuan divine art, and they were obviously very afraid of the Hunyuan divine art. My great-grandfather will modify it. Su Yang's eyes fell on Ximen Huxiao, and he couldn't help but nodded and said, the changes are good. Ximen Huxiao's Hunyuan magical technique should be able to beat my cousin's Taishan magical technique. Although the 8th form is not perfect, I think Junwu will not be able to compete with it. With the strength he has shown so far, he will definitely lose to Ximen Huxiao, unless he has other means. With this in mind, Su Yang moved his eyes to look at Junwu, full of expectations for this ordinary guy from Lejun Mountain. At this time, Junwu looked at Ximen Huxiao, who was charging up his ultimate move, and his expression finally became serious. Haha, this is Suwuji's modified Hunyuan divine art. It's quite interesting. Junwu showed a smile and then said, however, that's all. Compared with the real Hunyuan divine art, there is still a gap. The matter has come to this, I'm afraid it won't work if we don't reveal some of our strength. Ximen Huxiao, now I will let you see what the real Hunyuan divine art is. No, it should be called Hunyuan Palm. After saying that, Junwu smiled, and the aura on his body suddenly changed dramatically. Original. Junwu uses true energy, and the strength he has shown so far is that of the middle stage of Shenzone, which is similar to Ximen Huxiao. But now, the Genkai fluctuations on Junwu's body have completely disappeared, replaced by spiritual energy. Right? It is spiritual energy, and it is also majestic spiritual energy, not inferior to the old poison, and even a little stronger than the old poison. Cultivation person. What, Junwu is actually a cultivator? This is impossible. Zhenqi and spiritual energy cannot coexist. The last second he was using true energy, how could it turn into spiritual energy now? Looking at the fluctuations of his spiritual energy, they are even more violent than that of Lin Yuan. I'm afraid he has successfully built the foundation. As soon as you enter the foundation building, you will be the land martial god. How can you fight? Who will be his opponent? Not only were the melon eaters in the audience confused, but even the people on the high seats were deeply surprised. This Junwu is hidden deep enough. Wan Kongyun couldn't help but said, but, how did he achieve the coexistence of true energy and spiritual energy? It's not coexistence. He has always been a cultivator. He does not have true energy in his body, but he has a treasure that hides his energy. Ximen Fenjian stared at Junwu with eyes as bright as a torch, and then said, as for the previous true energy, it was stored in the wine gourd before and does not belong to him. It can be released when fighting, and it will be gone when it is used up. This boy must have come prepared. He even deceived me. It seems that the 10 ancient clans have already taken action, Ximen Fengyun added. Ximen Fengyun continued, after I stepped into cultivation, I went to the secret room to learn the Hunyuan palm, so I can naturally recognize it. Ximen Huxiao, this big fool, wanted to pick up the slack, but unexpectedly, he picked the hard one. Having said this, Ximen Fengyun was not angry because of Ximen Huxiao's stupid behavior, and still kept smiling. It's useless, now he is Lejun Shanjun Wu, we have no reason to stop him. It wasn't that he couldn't afford to lose, but it was too uncomfortable. Why did he propose to exchange opponents with Su Yang? In this year's 100 sex martial arts competition, all the geniuses are very strong. Jun Wu may not be able to win. I actually lost. Ximen Fengyun said with a half smile. Su Yang must have seen how powerful Jun Wu is, so he agreed to Ximen Huxiao's request. As Abbot Yuantong spoke, the person on the high seat stopped talking and acquiesced to what he said. Along with a muffled sound, Ximen Huxiao's Hunyuan divine skill was broken. No, we can't continue the fight. Jun Wu must be deprived of his qualifications to compete. Ximen Huxiao finally noticed the changes in Jun Wu, felt the majestic aura in Jun Wu's body, and his face instantly turned ugly. For thousands of years, the Duanmu family has been occupying the Kunlun Mountains. However, in the era of Suwaji's rise, he drove away the Duanmu family with thunderous means. Therefore, the cultivation method of Hunyuan palm remained in the secret room of the Kunlun Mountains. At this time, Abbot Yuantong clasped his hands and said, "Then let him be the leader of the alliance. Everything is determined. Have you forgotten what the great man said more than 100 years ago? The first place in this year's 100 sex martial arts competition is based on the destiny of heaven and earth, and thousands of causes and effects. No matter who it is, we must recognize it and respect it as the master. What if you win and become the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance? Wouldn't the ancient martial arts world be in chaos?" Wang Kongyun said seriously. On the stage. Boom. Wang Kongyun said solemnly, "What do they mean? They can't wait to destroy the ancient martial arts revolution. Reiki, you are a cultivator, you have hidden your strength before." Although Shi Hehan was dissatisfied with Ximen Fengyun, he was still in the ancient martial arts world and had to be united. When he heard the news about Gu Wu, he frowned and said, "How do you know he comes from the top 10 ancient clans?" The next moment, Jun Wu struck Ximen Huxiao in the chest with a palm. The charge of Ximen Tiger Roar is completed. This Jun Wu is not simple. He has mastered the Hunyuan palm. His understanding of the Hunyuan palm alone is not weaker than mine. But Jun Wu, unhurriedly, blasted out with a palm, and the spiritual energy was raging in an instant. Ximen Fengyun said, "What Jun Wu is using now is the Hunyuan palm." After Suwaji watched it, he felt that the Hunyuan palm was very powerful, so he modified it, renamed it the Hunyuan divine art, and passed it on to me. He was so excited that he hadn't noticed Jun Wu's change yet. At this moment, he sneered again and directly used his strongest method. This is the secret knowledge of the Duanmu family among the 10 ancient clans, and it has never been passed down to others. Hunyuan palm. Amitba. The top 10 ancient clans, the Duanmu family. Ximen Fengyun shook his head, and then said, "Besides, he didn't build a foundation, he just built a foundation in half a step, and his spiritual energy is a little stronger than the old poison." Unsurprisingly, Ximen Tiger flew backwards and fell on the ring, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. His face was full of shock and disbelief. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 552. Regret. At this moment, Ximen Huxiao felt extremely regretful and his expression was extremely complicated, as if he had eaten a piece of Chenxiang. If the opponent is Du Fei Yang from the Du family in Shencheng, he still has the strength to fight. In a real fight, with Du Feiyang's current strength, Ximen Huxiao is sure to win 50-50. But now, the opponent is Jun Wu, an old Yinbai who hides his strength. Ximen Huxiao is completely desperate. Even though he was not seriously injured now, he still had the ability to fight back, but he didn't want to fight anymore. Because Jun Wu built his foundation in half a step, and after the duel just now, he was obviously stronger than himself. If he continues to fight, he will only be more embarrassed, and Ximen Huxiao knows this very well. Therefore, he bluntly said that he had lost and gave up on his own initiative. The so-called Hunyuan divine art is just the evolution of Hunyuan Palm. You are destined to be no match for me at this time. Jun Wu took a sip of wine and smiled softly. Ximen Huxiao had a complicated expression, stared at Jun Wu, and said coldly, "Who are you? I don't remember that there is a genius like you in Lejun Mountain." "Haha, the top 10 ancient clans, the Duanmu family. My name is Duanmu Wu," Jun Wu responded with a smile. "What, he is a member of the top 10 ancient clans? Aren't the 10 ancient tribes forbidden to be born? It's been more than 100 years, and I've never heard from them. Why are they coming back to the world now? It is said that the 10 ancient clans are restricted and cannot be born within a certain period of time. I guess the time is coming soon. The people of the 10 ancient tribes are all cultivators. They definitely don't want to see the ancient martial arts world change, and they must be here to stop it. Jun Wu is here. Is there an old monster from the top 10 ancient clans?" Before the rise of Suwuji, the ancient martial arts world had always been controlled by the 10 ancient clans. No matter how powerful the sect was, they had to bow to the 10 ancient clans. Recalling the fear of being dominated by the ancient clans in those years, I still vividly remember it. Hey, the 10 ancient tribes are too powerful. I remember one thing recorded in the book. About a few hundred years ago, the ancient tribe sent a young disciple to dominate the ancient martial arts world, even if he robbed famous mountains. The daughter of the mountain owner does not dare to resist, so she can only obey, otherwise she will be destroyed. With the emergence of the 10 major ancient clans, I'm afraid the transformation of the ancient martial arts world will not be so easy to achieve. The melon eaters in the audience were talking a lot, and everyone looked at Jun Wu with fear in their eyes. "You are from the ancient tribe?" Ximen Huxiao was shocked, then gritted his teeth and said, "People from the ancient tribe can't join the world yet, right?" "Cannot." Jun Wu showed a smile, took another sip of wine, and smiled softly, "So, my name is Jun Wu now, Jun Wu from Lejun Mountain." Snort. Ximen Huxiao snorted coldly, naturally understanding what Jun Wu meant. As Duanmu Wu, he cannot appear in the arena at this moment and cannot participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition. But as a disciple of Lejunshan, he has this qualification. Jun Wu. At this time, Ximen Fenjian, who was on the high seat, looked at Jun Wu and said, "As the genius of Lejun Mountain, you are participating in the 100 sex martial arts competition, and you are of the right age. There is nothing wrong with that. However, can you tell me, as one of the top 10 geniuses among the 10 ancient clans, what is the purpose of your coming to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition?" "Master Ximen." Jun Wu met Ximen Fenjian's gaze, showing a rare touch of respect, and said politely, "We, the Duanmu family, just want to witness the changes in the ancient martial arts world. Please relax, Ximen family head. The Duanmu family will never interfere in the ancient martial arts world matter. As for me, haha, I haven't played against my peers for a long time. I just stretch my muscles." Jun Wu continued, "Originally, I planned to lose the last game, hide in the crowd, and watch the show without anyone noticing. However, who would have thought that among the contestants of the 100 sex martial arts competition, there would be a half-step foundation establishment. Junwoo smiled playfully, I couldn't hold it back because my hands were itchy, so I won the competition. I plan to meet the geniuses in the ancient martial arts world. The half-step foundation he mentioned was the old poison Linyuan. I see. Ximen Fenjiun nodded, and then asked, do you think you have a chance of winning? What are you going to do after winning? Is it possible to become the leader of the Ancient Martial Arts Alliance? I'm not interested in this position. Junwoo shook his head, then took a sip of wine and said with a smile, Master Ximen, please rest assured that I will not enter the finals. No matter whether I win or lose, I will quit if I play another game. However, the probability of me losing should not be high. Hee. Good. Ximen Fenjiun was slightly satisfied with this answer, and then he changed his tone and asked a little more profoundly, did you come alone this time? Did your father Duanmawu follow you? My grandpa is on his way and will arrive at Wudang ancient town soon. Junwoo smiled and said, the transformation of the ancient martial arts world is a big event. People from the 10 major ancient tribes want to see it. That's it? When Ximen Fenjiun heard this, he smiled bitterly in his heart. He had already guessed this. After a pause for a few seconds, Ximen Fenjiun looked at Ximen Huxiao and said calmly, Ximen Huxiao, please go down. The outcome of this competition has been decided. Yes, ancestor. Ximen Huxiao agreed respectfully, and at the same time his eyes fell on Su Yang, and said angrily, Su Yang, did you already know that Junwoo was hiding his strength, so you agreed to my proposal? Oh. Junwoo, who was next to him, also cast his eyes on Su Yang, obviously wanting to know the answer. He was so confident in his hidden methods that he couldn't detect it even at the peak of foundation building. How could Su Yang, who was at the 9th level of Qi training, be able to detect it? Su Yang was fearless and said coldly, so what, you are responsible for all this? You. Ximen Huxiao was furious and said in a deep voice, you bitch, just wait for me. Queen of the 100 Sex Martial Arts Competition, I will definitely kill you with my own hands and reduce you to ashes. Hee. Unexpectedly, Su Yang raised his eyebrows and said coldly, why wait until the 100 Sex Martial Arts Competition is over? We can settle it now. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yang's eyes turned cold, and a terrifying spiritual energy wave emitted from his body. Whoosh! After using so far, Su Yang appeared on the ring the next moment. While his body was moving, he thought, and the sky sword was already in his hand. At this time, Su Yang stood on the stage with the sky sword in hand, and said with a serious face, Ximen Huxiao, I said before that you will die today. A man should do what he says. Now, I'm here to fulfill what I said before. After saying that, Su Yang's figure flickered, and he used the reincarnation conception of the Beishi reincarnation fist on the sky sword, with overwhelming power. You, what are you going to do, poof? After approaching Ximen Huxiao, Su Yang slashed out with his sword, and the Kangqiang sword instantly cut through Ximen Huxiao's throat. Bright red blood spurted out instantly, and the whole place was in an uproar. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 553. Ximen Huxiao's strength is not weak. If he uses the 8th form of the Hunyuan divine skill, he will definitely be able to defeat the ordinary Shenzong later stage. But the person who attacked him was Su Yang. And Su Yang used the artistic conception of reincarnation. Although Su Yang is still at the 9th level of Qi training today, his strength is improving day by day. Now he uses the reincarnation conception of Beishi reincarnation fist to make Ximen Huxiao's consciousness fall into reincarnation. Although it only lasted a few tenths of a second, for Su Yang, This time was completely enough. Therefore, before Ximen Huxiao had time to resist, his throat was sealed by Su Yang's sword, and he was bleeding profusely. Well. Ximen Huxiao's eyes showed a look of horror, and he covered his throat with both hands, but he couldn't seal the wound. He fell on the ring a few seconds later and died. As Ximen Tiger roared to death, the scene suddenly became uproar. He's dead. Damn it, the descendants of the Su family are so fierce. They actually killed Ximen Huxiao in public. Haha, the Ximen family has occupied the Kunlun Mountains. As a descendant of the Su family, Su Yang doesn't have a good impression of Ximen Huxiao. Moreover, in the past few days, Su Yang and Fen Jiang's Zhang family have been getting closer. It is rumored that Ximen Huxiao Xiaoyuji killed Zhang Magu's sister, and Ximen Huxiao had previously made provocations, so it is not surprising that Su Yang would kill him. What kind of strength does this descendant of the Su family have? He actually killed Ximen Huxiao with one sword. It's just a surprise. Just like killing Song Qingyang, Su Yang's method is too dirty. Haha, for committing a crime openly, Su Yang will be deprived of his quota this time, and may even be kicked out of Wudane Mountain. Everyone was talking about it. Not only the people in the audience were shocked, but also the few people on the high seats were shocked. No one expected that Su Yang would be so decisive and kill Ximen Huxiao in an instant. In the crowd, Zhang Magu, who was standing with Wang Fugui, witnessed Ximen Huxiao being killed and could not calm down for a long time. Sister, young Master Su has avenged your revenge on you. I hope your spirit in heaven can rest in peace. After coming to his senses, Zhang Magu's eyes were red and there were tears in his eyes. He looked at Su Yang and murmured to himself with a choked voice, "Young Master Su, thank you, thank you. The style of this sword makes the world eclipse. Young Master Su is so handsome." Wang Fugui, who was next to him, his eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "I wonder if I will be as handsome when I use the sword." At this moment, Su Yang stood on the ring and wiped the blood stains on the sky sword slowly, looking very calm. At some point, Ali had appeared behind Su Yang, looking around vigilantly to protect Su Yang. Su Yang. On the high seat, Ximen Fenjiun was furious. He stood up and said coldly, "You are so brave, how dare you kill my descendants in front of me?" He. Hearing this, Su Yang held the sword in his right hand, met Ximen Fenjiun's gaze, and said with a playful smile, "I have already killed the man, what can you do to me?" You. Ximen Fenjiun became angry with shame, and the aura around him was restless. If Ali hadn't been there, he would have killed Su Yang with his own hands to avenge Ximen Huxiao. As a descendant of you, you have done all kinds of evil, and if you provoke me, I will kill you. Su Yang looked at Ximen Fenjiun and said coldly, "Ximen Fenjiun, this is just the beginning. I will let you watch me with your own eyes, slaughter the entire Ximen family, and finally take your life." Good. Okay. Ximen Fenjiun's eyes were scarlet, and he laughed angrily, "Su Yang, as I said before, I'm waiting for you. But now, you can get out of Wudane. If you kill someone in public, you have lost the qualification to participate." Ximen Fenjiun brought out the rules of the 100 sex martial arts competition. "Why should I get out? This descendant of the Su family is so resourceful that he can play like this. Now Ximen Fenjiun will suffer the consequences of being dumb. It's interesting, ha ha ha." After hearing what Wan Kongyun and Abbot Yuantong said, Ximen Fenjiun didn't say much and just sent someone to collect Ximen Huxiao's body. Because the first one in the 100 Sex Martial Arts Association can be the leader of the Ancient Martial Arts Alliance according to destiny, while the second one is nothing. But he had to take the overall situation into consideration, for the sake of the entire Zhang family, and couldn't really meet Ximen Fenjiun weapon, so Zhang Tianli had to hold back. Now that Su Yang has killed Ximen Huxiao, Zhang Tianli regards Su Yang as his benefactor and naturally wants to protect him. Haha, he died in the ring. His body is still lying on the ring. Wang Fugui, who was in the audience, interrupted. Shi Hehan, what does it have to do with you? Do you want to recognize the wild grandson Shi Yuyan gave you? Ximan Fenjian sneered. Ximan Fenjian stared at Zhang Tianli and said coldly, Zhang Tianli, shut up. At this time, Zhang Tianli stood up with the animal skin drum and said coldly, why is it useless? I think Mr. Su's words are very reasonable. As long as you're not number one, it doesn't matter. Even if you're number two, it's just a foil. Good. Ximan Fenjian sneered again and again. Even in the face of the pressure from Shi Hehan and Zhang Tianli, he still refused to show weakness and was very willing to take action if he disagreed. Next. Su Yang smiled softly and said, I do remember that there is a rule that you are not allowed to kill people in private, but in the ring, there is no limit on life and death. Am I right? Ximan Fenjian said in a deep voice, Su Yang, do you think your rhetoric is useful? Haha, may I ask where Ximan Huxiao died? Su Yang said with a playful smile. He is only at the 9th level of Qi training. The remaining contestants only have 2 half-step foundations. Even if Su Yang participates, he is just going through the motions and running with him. No wonder Su Yang quickly stepped onto the stage and dared to take action in public. It turned out that he had already thought of an excuse. In response, Shi Hehan did not respond, but just stared at Ximan Fenjian, with true energy surging all over his body. The game continued, and the second test was between Su Yang and Du Fei Yang. Zhang Tianli has always wanted to kill Ximan Huxiao and avenge his granddaughter. Zhang Magu opened his mouth to defend, Ximan Fenjian, young master Su killed Ximan Huxiao in the ring. How did he violate the rules? Snored. Strong words. Wan Konggyun smoothed over the situation and said with a soft smile, let Su Yang continue to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition. Zhang Tianli said in a loud voice, you can't break the rules just because your descendant died in the ring. Although the Ximan family has become increasingly powerful in recent years, Ximan Fenjian and the 100 sex martial arts are not your sole responsibility. You are not allowed to kill people under the ring, but above the ring, you don't care about life or death. This is the long-standing rule of the 100 sex martial arts competition. Okay, brother Fenjian, calm down and say what you have to say. Why go into such a big fight? So what? Ximan Fenjian said coldly. For a time, many melon-eating people were talking about it. Ximan Fenjian snored. Ba, the leader of the Wang sect is right. Why should the 3 of you fight so hard over an inconsequential decision? Abbot Yuantong also said, concluding that Su Yang could not win the first place. Ximan Fenjian, you are too arrogant. You really think this is your home? What do you say? At this time, Shi Hehan also stood up and said with a serious face. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 554. At this moment, Su Yang stood on the stage, having put away the sky sword, with a playful smile on his face, quietly waiting for Du Fei Yang to take the stage. The reason why he put away the sky sword was because Du Fei Yang was not worthy. With Su Yang's soul-binding method, Du Fei Yang's secret technique that he was proud of could be cracked with just a raise of his hand. Take it into your body. Is this sword your magic weapon? At this time, Jun Wu had not yet stepped down from the stage, and his eyes fell on Su Yang. Su Yang just glanced at him and didn't answer. Haha, it seems that it is really a magic weapon of destiny. That's right. You are a descendant of Su Wuzi, so it's normal to have some tricks. Jun Wu didn't care. After taking a sip of wine, he turned around and asked again, Su Yang, did you really notice my strength before? Su Yang nodded, and then said impatiently, are you done asking? You can go down after asking. Don't delay my game. Haha, interesting. You are just as arrogant as Suwaji, but unfortunately, you don't have the capital to be arrogant. You are just practicing at the 9th level of Qi. Junwei shook his head and said. Is it? Su Yang met Junwei's gaze, raised his eyebrows and said, do you believe it or not, I can blow you up. Just you. Junwei was stunned for a moment, then chuckled and said, with all due respect, you can't do it? My reputation is not very famous in the ancient martial arts world, and very few people even know about it. However, among the 10 ancient clans, almost no cultivator of the same realm is my opponent. Junwei continued, you are only practicing at the 9th level of Qi. You may be able to fight beyond the level and defeat ordinary half-step foundation building. But when you meet me, there is only one result, and that is a disastrous defeat. You are more arrogant than me. Su Yang smiled playfully, who gave you the confidence? Is it the wine gourd in your hand? When Junwei heard this, his face changed slightly, he stared at Su Yang, and began to re-examine the descendants of the Su family in front of him. Wine gourd. This is Junwei's natal magic weapon, and it is a sacred object of the Duanmu family and has been passed down for thousands of years. From the outside, this wine gourd looks ordinary, just a container. Even a cultivator at the foundation building level couldn't detect the clues about the wine gourd. How did Su Yang know that the reason why he was so confident was because of the wine gourd? He. Su Yang saw Junwei's doubts and smiled softly, this wine gourd of yours has no space, but it can still store the true energy. The true energy you used before was stored in the wine gourd. With this kind of supreme treasure, no wonder he is so arrogant. Interesting, interesting. After Junwei was briefly surprised, he smiled and said, originally, there were 3 opponents in my mind. One is Wudane Wanjai, the other is Fozuwaji, and the last one is Lin Yuan, who is at the half-step foundation level. Now it seems that one more person will be added. Junwei smiled softly and said, Su Yang, I hope you can advance to the next round of competition, and let me meet you, and I will let you know what a true cultivator is. After saying that, Junwei strode off the stage and stood quietly under the stage, just like a melon eater. Su Yang didn't care. How could immortal Emperor Xiantian take the provocation of a mere rubbish in the foundation building realm to his heart? Shencheng Du family, Du Fi Yang, please step onto the ring. As the referee's voice sounded, Du Fi Yang, dressed in black, landed firmly on the ring, his eyes filled with murderous intent, staring at Su Yang. Catching the other person's gaze, Su Yang smiled softly and said, you want to kill me? Yes. Du Fi Yang said coldly, Su Yang, I know everything about what happened in Jiangbei. You killed my father, and today I will avenge him. As soon as these words came out, the scene exploded. It turns out that Su Yang and Du Fi Yang have a grudge. No wonder Du Fi Yang just agreed to exchange opponents. I heard that the head of the Du family united with several people to force Yaoang Palace, but I didn't expect that Su Yang had already killed him. Now that Su Yang is the master of the Medicine King Palace, Du Mingyuan has some evil plans, so he deserves to die. The Du family is usually very quiet. Even the head of the family is only at the Tianzong level. I didn't expect that there would be such a terrifying young talent as Du Fi Yang. He invited 3 souls and stepped out in one step. He is in the middle stage of Shenzong. It is really quite strong. It's normal. Du Kun, the ancestor of the Du family, is a famous figure in the ancient martial arts world. He is sitting on a high seat at the moment. He is at least the god of land martial arts. Su Yang's strength is not weak either. He first killed Song Qingyang and then Ximen Huxiao. Although both were sneak attacks, they should not be underestimated. Du Fi Yang responded coldly, and then began to recite a spell silently, and his whole body was filled with black energy. The melon eaters in the audience were talking a lot and began to analyze the strengths of Su Yang and Du Fei Yang. Originally, he was only at the peak of Tianzong, but now he has crossed a great realm and become the early stage of Shenzone. Du Fei Yang, who had entered the middle stage of the Shenzone, was surrounded by three souls, exuding a terrifying coercion that swept across the audience and aroused everyone's amazement. The Du family's secret technique is indeed magical. The Tianzone transforms into the Shenzone. This method is terrifying. You think too simply. First of all, the Du family's secret skills are not spread to outsiders. Only the Du family can practice it, and not everyone can practice it. With the addition of two souls, Du Fei Yang's state was close to the middle stage of Shenzone. This battle was indeed quite fast. Du Fei Yang gave a sneer, and his voice also changed, which seemed to be caused by the mixing of multiple people. Du Fei Yang felt a little proud and continued to recite the spell silently, and the next moment he summoned another soul. Su Yang, suffer death. Buzz. Remind. Humph, you don't need to remind me. Wang Ye, Wu Ji, Lin Yuan, Zhao Zhiruo, Ximen Lonjian, and other talented people are also watching the ring, wanting to see what the descendants of the Su family can do. Du Fei Yang's change aroused everyone's surprise. He. Du Fei Yang's aura suddenly changed, and an ancestral soul appeared on his body. I just want to take away your soul. Su Yang raised his arm slightly, and there seemed to be an inexplicable pulling force on his palm, which actually sucked all three souls surrounding Du Fei Yang into his palm. Soon. Du Fei Yang, thank you for the gift you gave me. Then, he rushed towards Su Yang and used his killing move, hoping to quickly resolve the battle. Su Yang sneered in his heart and stood aside, silently watching Du Fei Yang perform the Du family's secret technique. Excuse me. Haha, this is just the beginning. Facing the murderous Du Fei Yang, Su Yang smiled lightly and said, if you want to kill me, it depends on whether you have the strength. Su Yang, on the other hand, still did nothing and stood there with a calm expression. Yes, it is estimated that only a few people in the entire Du family know the Du family's secret techniques. Next, Du Fei Yang invited the third ancestor soul and stepped into the middle stage of Shenzone. The most important thing is that his aura is extremely powerful, far superior to the average mid-level Shenzone. Otherwise, it would be impossible to defeat Master Mo Dao. Then, Su Yang raised the corners of his mouth and said with a playful smile. I advise you to invite three souls directly, so as not to be killed instantly by me, and you won't even have a chance to invite the ancestors. If everyone in the Du family practices secret arts, wouldn't they be able to have many Shenzone masters? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 555. The scene that happened at the scene made everyone stunned and dumbfounded. What happened? How come the souls of the ancestors invited by Du Fei Yang ended up in Su Yang's hands? There is something strange about Su Yang's palm. Those three souls have been suppressed by him. Damn it, look, Du Fei Yang's level has fallen and he has returned to the peak of Tianzone. What the hell, I wanted to ask my ancestor for help, but my ancestor was taken advantage of. At this moment, Du Fei Yang stopped, his face extremely solemn, sweat dripping from his forehead, and he looked at Su Yang in disbelief. What did you do to me? Du Fei Yang asked through gritted teeth while breathing heavily. It's nothing, I just captured the soul. When Su Yang was talking, the three souls of the Du family ancestors in his palm suddenly became extremely irritable and seemed to want to break free from Su Yang's restraints. Snort. Su Yang snorted coldly and threatened with cold eyes, just calm down, or I will destroy you both physically and mentally immediately. As soon as these words came out, the souls of the three ancestors of the Du family immediately calmed down and surrounded Su Yang meekly, as if they were trying to please Su Yang. Ancestor. When Du Feiyang saw this, he suddenly became angry and said in a cold voice, "Su Yang, return the soul of your ancestor to me. Haha, you wanted to kill me before, but now you want me to release these three souls. Du Feiyang, do you think it's possible?" Su Yang sneered. "I." Du Feiyang had a complicated expression. After pausing for a few seconds, he gritted his teeth and said, "What method did you use? Do I need to tell you?" Su Yang raised his eyebrows and said instead, "Now that you are at the peak of Tianzong, should you step off the ring by yourself, or should you let me help you?" Du Feiyang was silent. He knew that he had lost, but the soul of his ancestor was still in Su Yang's hands. How could he leave? "Master Su." At this moment, Du Kun, who was on the high seat, stood up and said, "I was not strict in my discipline. The Du family has offended many people in the past. I hope Master Su Haihan will return the souls of the Du family's ancestors." "Oh." Su Yang's eyes fell on Du Kun, and he smiled softly, "You are the ancestor of the Du family, right? Your Du family offended me, and Du Feiyang threatened to kill me. How can you just apologize? In Mr. Su's opinion, what can I do to satisfy you?" Du Kun said, suppressing his anger. "Simple, these three souls belong to me, and the past grudges are wiped out," Su Yang said lightly. "I don't know whether the changes in the ancient martial arts world are good or bad, and the 10 major ancient tribes are watching with eager eyes. Apart from this, the earth is just a game of the immortal emperor from outside the territory. On earth, both cultivators and ancient warriors have a common enemy, which is the Dao of heaven and the immortal emperor from outside the territory. Of course, the most important thing is that the Du family is not qualified to be Su Yang's opponent, and they have no deep grudge against Su Yang. Therefore, Su Yang did not want to kill everyone. Want the souls of the ancestors of the Du family." Snort. Unexpectedly, Du Kun snorted coldly and said in a deep voice, "Descendants of the Su family, I will discuss this with you nicely. Do you really think that my Du family is easy to bully?" After finishing his words, Du Kun's eyes darkened and he began to recite the spell silently. At the same time, a black soul emerged around him, exuding terrifying power. An ancestral soul joined him, and Du Kun's aura was extremely powerful, already comparable to the late-stage land warrior god. Like Du Feiyang, he could summon 3 ancestor souls in total, and his strength would reach the peak of the martial god. But now Du Kun knew that he could not take action against Su Yang, otherwise someone on the high throne would stop him. The reason why he invited an ancestor's soul was just to scare Su Yang. This soul is so pure. But when Su Yang saw this, he didn't panic. Instead, his eyes lit up and he said happily, "It's mine." After the words fell, Su Yang actually raised his hand and pointed his palm at Du Kun. Seeing this scene, Du Kun sneered, "Haha, you ignorant and fearless young man. I am already a land martial god. You are only at the 9th level of Qi training. You actually want to take away my, what?" Unexpectedly, before he finished speaking, Du Kun's face suddenly changed drastically, and strong panic appeared in his eyes. Facing Su Yang's palm, Du Kun was unable to fight back. The soul of his ancestor flew towards Su Yang uncontrollably. In just an instant, Su Yang was surrounded by 4 souls. Wow! This scene caused an uproar on the scene. Everyone looked at Su Yang, even the few people on the high seats looked sideways. "Su Yang." Du Kun swallowed in fear and asked, "What are you doing?" Now, 4 of them, Jun Wu, Su Yang, Wang Ye, and Lao Tuwu Linyuan, advance. It's just a simple soul-binding secret technique. What a coincidence, it just happened to restrain your Du family's secret technique. Su Yang was very satisfied with this great gift from the Du family, and he no longer cared about the past grudges. "Don't worry, I am the only one who knows the secret technique. These 4 souls belong to me. I promise not to spread the secret technique to anyone else, and I will wipe out all my grudges with the Du family. Su Yang smiled softly and promised. Naturally, Du Kun would not be fooled. He looked at Su Yang with an ugly face. After weighing the pros and cons, he finally said, Master Su, our Du family lost. From now on, the Du family will never provoke Master Su again. I hope Mr. Su, please don't spread the soul detaining method to anyone else. There is a saying that if Wang Fugui uses a sword, the outcome may be determined. Du Kun immediately wanted to kill Su Yang to avoid future troubles. It's a worthwhile trip. The ancestor spoke, and no matter how reluctant Du Fei Yang was, he had no choice but to do as he was told. Master Su, I have offended you many times before. There was nothing to say about the battle between the two of them. Wang Ye defeated Wang Fugui without using all his strength. P.S. Regarding the plot of the 100 sex martial arts competition, this is really not watery. Everyone has their own methods. The ancient martial arts world is about to change. These people must write it clearly. People don't like to see it. I have accelerated the progress and it is almost the finals. These days will be a climax. Zhao will come, you can guess her identity. If everyone in the ancient martial arts world knew the secret technique, then the Du family would be doomed. Old Poison had already half-stepped the foundation, and with the blessing of the 100 poison flags, he finally won the victory after a lot of effort. The last competition is full of excitement, between Fozawuji and Ximen Longjian. Afterwards, Su Yang stepped down from the ring, Bai Zhong Huiwu continued to perform, and Wang Fugui faced off against Wudane Wang Ye. Snort. When you are dying, absorbing these souls can ensure your immortality. Also, I hope you can distribute this book to Shuhuang Square to increase its exposure, please. Haha, it's a big deal to improve if you realize your mistakes. I'm not a stingy person, Su Yang said magnanimously. Okay, I hope Mr. Su will do what he says. But there is a super powerful protector behind Su Yang, so it is impossible for him to succeed. Although Du Kun was reluctant to give up, he could only agree, and then said, Fei Yang, apologize to Mr. Su, and then get off the ring. But yes. Su Yang's soul-binding secret technique is simply the nemesis of the Du family's secret technique. What a liar! Who are you fooling? This is a life-saving thing, it can nourish and strengthen the soul, which is equivalent to the century-old ginseng of ordinary people. Zhao Zhiruo wields a lotus sword and is able to stand out from the crowd, but unfortunately her opponent is an old poisonous creature. Du Fei Yang was very embarrassed and walked off the ring with a cold snort. Since he couldn't be killed, Du Kun had no choice but to give in and compromise with Su Yang, praying that Su Yang would not spread the secret skills to others. The fourth match was between Lao Tuwu and Zhao Zhiruo from Yimeishan. Su Yang looked at the 4 souls of the Du family ancestors surrounding him and showed a satisfied smile. Then with a wave of his hand, he put the 4 souls into the storage ring. Su Yang showed an innocent smile and smiled softly, Ancestor of the Du family, you can invite a few souls, please come out. Maybe if you invite a few more, I won't be able to absorb them. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 556. The showdown between Ximen Longjian and Fozawuji is interesting for another reason besides being both long-established geniuses. That is, both of them are enthusiastic pursuers of Chunguanglu Lan Miaoi. Because of Lan Miaoi, the two of them were very difficult to deal with. They even fought against each other before, and the fight was red-faced, but there was no winner or loser. This time, it is not for Lan Miaoi, but for the first place in the martial arts competition of hundreds of sections it is inevitable to distinguish who is strong and who is weak. Haha, interesting, Ximen Longjian and Fozawuji met. I heard that many geniuses have made an agreement before the competition. Whoever wins the first place in the martial arts competition of 100 secs can own Lan Miaoi. Having a hairline, Lan Miaoi's first blood has been taken by Su Yang. Even if they win the 100 secs martial arts competition, it won't change this fact. Fozawuji returned to secular life for 3 years for Lan Miaoi. How much determination does this require? If he becomes the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance, he probably won't give up on Lan Miaoi easily. That's not necessarily the case. Now that Buddha Ziwuji has converted to Buddhism again, he has broken through the mortal world and returned to Bodhi Mountain. He must have let go of his obsessions. It's useless. Buddha Ziwuji has not practiced Buddhism for 3 years. Ximen Longjian is making progress every moment. There must be a gap between the two. Yes, Ximen Longjian is not a simple character. He has never shown his strength in front of outsiders. As the eldest son of the Ximen family, how can he not have a trump card? Everyone looked at the two people on the ring, whispered, and stared at the ring intently, for fear of missing the wonderful scene. Not far away. Wudan Wang Ye, Lao Duolin Yuan, Imei Zhao's Hiruo, Wang Fugui, Jun Wu, Su Yang, and many other talented people are also watching. Even the favorite to win the championship, Wang Ye Dao Kang, did not leave after the game this time. He was obviously interested in the battle between Fozawuji and Ximen Longjian. Priest Wang Ye, who do you think will win between the two of them? At this time, Jun Wu smiled softly and took the initiative to talk to Wang Ye. Is there a difference? Wang Ye yawned and said casually, no matter who wins, it will not affect me from winning the first place in the 100 secs martial arts competition. This, haha. Jun Wu paused for a moment, then said in agreement, that makes sense, so I'll congratulate Taoist Wang Ye in advance. You're welcome. Wang Ye looked at Jun Wu, as if he hadn't woken up, and said sleepily, Duan Mu Wu, you don't have to deliberately make friends with me. The ancient martial arts world now is different from before. If your Duan Mu family still wants to enslave the ancient martial arts world like before, I, Wang Ye, will be the first to refuse. Wang Ye suddenly opened his eyes and said seriously, the duty of the leader of the ancient martial arts alliance is to protect the ancient martial arts world. I advise you to take care of yourself and don't use small tricks to avoid damaging the harmony. He. Jun Wu was not afraid and smiled softly, Master Wang Ye does not need to look at our Duan Mu family with colored glasses. After more than 100 years of accumulation, the Duan Mu family has already figured it out. Now we just want to fight with the ancient martial arts world. Make good friends and coexist peacefully. It better be this way. Wang Ye put his hand on his mouth, yawned, and turned to look at the ring. Priest Wang Ye, what do you think of Su Yang? At this time, Jun Wu glanced at Su Yang in the distance and asked in a low voice. Wang Ye didn't even look at Su Yang and said calmly, he's just a clown who doesn't know the heights of the sky. He's nothing to be afraid of. Haha, heroes see the same thing, Jun Wu echoed, and at the same time glanced at Su Yang provocatively. Su Yang naturally noticed Jun Wu's gaze and heard the conversation between him and Wang Ye. But Su Yang just raised the corners of his mouth and smiled softly, not paying much attention to it. Young Master Su, what are those two guys muttering about? Are they talking bad about you? Wang Fugui came over and said. Boom. Young Master Su, the two of us have played together since we were young. We grew up wearing the same pants. We are childhood sweethearts and childhood sweethearts. When he talks about you, it is equivalent to talking about me. No, I can't swallow this tone. Haha, come on, brother Fugui, don't you know how much you weigh or how much you are pretending to be? Zhang Magu, who was next to him, ruthlessly exposed it. Ximen Longjian, who was in the late Shenzong period, surpassed all the contestants in the 100 sex martial arts competition. Zhang Magu first complimented Wang Fuegui, then turned to Wang Ye and said loudly, "Taoist Master Wang Ye." Wang Fuegui said. "Boom." Su Yang said gratefully, "Young Master Wang, thank you for venting your anger for me. Go ahead and come on, I will cheer you up silently from behind." In this way, the two were fighting hard to separate each other, seemingly evenly matched, and the battle would not end for a while. For a moment, the ring was full of true energy, but a light shone everywhere, and the scene was very terrifying. Ximen Longjian and Ximen Huxiao both practiced the Hunyuan divine art. But he was just showing off. He had just been defeated by Wang Ye, and he knew how powerful Wang Ye was, so how could he dare to go and look for trouble? "Pinch it with your hand? It's amazing. He is indeed my rich brother, he is a cow." Wang Fuegui hurriedly stepped forward and covered Zhang Magu's mouth to prevent him from continuing to speak. When Wang Fuegui saw this, he immediately got scared and said with a smile, "Why don't we forget it today and let them go first? After all, God has good virtues. If I hit them so hard, what a sin it would be if I beat them to death." Su Yang. Wang Fuegui knew that Su Yang would definitely hold him back, so he pretended to be impassioned. While the two were bickering, the battle between Ximen Longjian and Fosa Wuji had already begun. Wuji's methods are not weak either. Even if he has not practiced Buddhism for 3 years, his Buddhist power is still strong. Wang Fuegui heard this and said angrily, "How dare these two little trash talk about my brother behind his back? I didn't stop you." "Probably." Zhang Magu curled his lips and said, "Just brag. Wasn't it you who was kicked off the ring by Wang Ye just now?" Wang Fuegui explained, "I was in a hurry to urinate, and I was holding it back in a panic, which affected my performance. Otherwise, it's just Wang Ye, can I pinch it with my hand?" With that said, Wang Fuegui rolled up his sleeves and pretended to walk towards Wang Ye and Jun Wu. Even Wudane Wang Ye is not as good as him, but in a showdown between geniuses at this level, victory is not based on realm. "Young Master Su, please don't pull me. Today I will fight with both of them," Wang Fuegui said through gritted teeth. But it can be clearly seen that Ximen Longjian is even more powerful, because he has already entered the later stage of Shenzong. Fuck. At this moment, in the audience, Zhao's Hiruo walked up to Su Yang holding a lotus sword. "Brother Ri, Mugu, do you look down on me?" Wang Fuegui became anxious and gritted his teeth. "My current strength is not to say invincible, but it is also rare in the world. Beating these two little novices is not the same as torturing them." But he miscalculated, and Su Yang had no intention of stopping him at this moment. Worry. Boom. Ahem, that. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 557. Today's Zhao's Hiruo, dressed in white and holding a jade sword, is simply a realistic version of an ancient fairy, fresh and refined. Now. She stopped in front of Su Yang, looking at Su Yang with a blushing face, a hint of shyness in her eyes, and whispered, "I had something to ask you that day, but the master called me away before I could finish the question. My master is not here today. I want to continue asking you, can you answer me?" Zhao's Hiruo said softly, looking charming. "Mrs. Hiruo, if you have anything to say, it's okay to say it." Su Yang smiled softly. "Then I have to ask." Zhao's Hiruo looked at Su Yang, seemingly ashamed to speak, but finally mustered up the courage to say, "Su Yang, do you like me?" After asking, Zhao's Hiruo looked to the other side shyly, not daring to look at Su Yang. But at the same time, she longed to see Su Yang answer in person, so she looked at Su Yang secretly from the corner of her eyes. "Well." Su Yang was stunned. He touched the bridge of his nose awkwardly and looked at the little white rabbit in ancient costume in front of him. He didn't know how to answer for a while. Like. At this time, Wang Fuegui next to him said first, Mrs. Hiruo, I answered for young Master Su. He likes you and loves you to death. You are his heart, his liver, and his treasure. Without you, he can't survive. Ah! Zhao's Hiruo suddenly felt like a frightened rabbit, but she was very happy in her heart. While fiddling with the corners of her clothes, she asked in a low voice, how did you know that young Master Su likes me? Did he tell you? Does he still need to say this? I am Brother Su, and I know who he is best. Not to mention that you are so young and charming. Even if your master, the philanthropist, expresses his love too much, Su will not refuse. As long as it's a female, he will always accept it. Wang Fuegui responded casually, then asked seriously, by the way, Mrs. Hiruo, can you eat cold and spicy food today? It's edible, I'm from Sichuan. I can eat spicy food. I can also eat it cold. Why do you ask? Zhao's Hiruo asked doubtfully. As long as you can eat it, it means that relatives are not here, Wang Fuegui muttered, and then whispered, Mrs. Hiruo, tonight, young Master Su. Fuck you. Just as Wang Fuegui was talking, Su Yang kicked him away. Then he looked at Zhao's Hiruo and smiled softly, Mrs. Hiruo, don't listen to Wang Fuegui's nonsense. Just think of him as farting. Oh. Zhao's Hiruo was slightly disappointed, gritted her teeth, met Su Yang's gaze, and asked, Su Yang, can you answer my question now? This. Su Yang was rather embarrassed. He wanted to clearly reject Zhao's Hiruo's kindness, but was afraid that she would be sad, so he pretended to be confused and said, Mrs. Hiruo, the weather is nice today. Su Yang, please answer directly, do you like me? Zhao's Hiruo mustered up the courage to ask. Look, Mrs. Hiruo, there is a white cloud in the sky. Su Yang deliberately changed the subject. Zhang Magu, who was standing next to him, couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth when he heard this. Are there white clouds in the sky? What's all the fuss about? That's it? I think I know the answer. Zhao's Hiruo guessed it when she saw that Su Yang still refused to answer. She felt extremely sad, her nose became sore and she started to choke, and she shed 2 lines of tears. Immediately afterwards, she glanced at Su Yang with complicated eyes, and then left the scene heartbroken. Mrs. Hiruo, Su Yang looked at Zhao's Hiruo's back and couldn't help but sigh. In the end, he did not explain, hey, forget it, let her go. Fuck. At this moment, Wang Fuegui got up and said through gritted teeth, young Master Su, what do you mean by letting her go? You are too heartless. I really don't know how your 37-degree mouth can say such cold words. This doesn't fit your personality. At this moment, Lu Shushan, who was furious, suppressed the anger in her heart and called out Wang Fuegui's name. Wang Fuegui was slightly startled, with a vague premonition of something bad, and felt panicked. Su Yang didn't want to talk to Wang Fuegui, but at this moment, he suddenly saw Lu Shushan walking over and standing behind Wang Fuegui. Really awesome. Wang Fuegui boasted, you don't know, during the few days I was in Kyoto, Lu Shushan made me scream every day. Seeing that I was very good, I asked her to go east, but she did not dare to go west. Very obedient. Wang Fuegui held his head high and said arrogantly, I am the head of the family. I usually train Lu Shushan to be very obedient. She knew that I was going to the club, so not only would she not stop me, she would even drive me there. Maybe the next time God is going to make me a lot of tonic soup to nourish my body. Expensive. Dare, why don't you dare? Su Yang couldn't help but give Wang Fuegui a thumbs up, then smiled playfully, brother, I wish you good luck. Su Yang saw that Lu Shushan's face had turned dark, and he couldn't help but laugh, and complimented, young Master Wang, it seems that I need to learn more from you on this point. Can you tell me how to revive Hyugang? Young Master Su, I am your brother, and you actually cheated on me. Wang Fuegui had no idea that the danger was approaching. When he heard Su Yang saying that he didn't dare to go to the club anymore, Wang Fuegui suddenly became anxious. Su Yang glanced at Lu Shushan, who was standing behind Wang Fuegui, and then said, "If Lu Shushan finds out, I'm afraid you'll have to kneel down like a durian, right?" "Really, aren't you afraid that Lu Shushan will find out?" "Fuck." Su Yang wanted to punish Wang Fuegui, so he smiled softly and said, "Haven't you changed too? In the past, you went to the club every day, and even claimed that the club was my home, which was convenient for you, me, and him. Now, do you still dare to go to the club?" "Wish me luck, what do you mean?" Wang Fuegui said disdainfully, young Master Su, I look down on you. A man can lose everything but his face. You have to learn from me, reinvigorate your husband, and take care of your women. Don't, it's not interesting to work around all day long." Wang Fuegui said seriously, "A woman cannot be spoiled. If she is disobedient, she must be beaten hard until she obeys." Wang Fuegui complained and said in a low voice, "If this were the past, for a girl as good and unique as Zhao Zhiruo, even if she didn't take the initiative to come over, you would drag her into the hotel to discuss the secrets between men and women. Why have you changed your gender recently? That's natural. Rich." The next moment, Wang Fuegui turned around, held his ears with both hands, knelt down involuntarily, and quickly gave in. "Young Master Su, the reason why you rejected Zhao Zhiruo is because your sisters-in-law, Fei Xian and Xue disagreed, right? Beat. Thump. Young Master Wang, is this how you manipulate Lu Shushan?" Su Yang asked. In order to protect his own face, Wang Fuegui said seriously, "Now the club is also my home. Unfortunately, there is no club in Wudang ancient town. Otherwise, I would definitely go there every day and play and sing every night. Must fight. King." Wang Fuegui was so frightened that his body trembled. He understood everything instantly and his face turned pale. "Honey, I was wrong, don't hit me. Haha, what a joke. You are so powerful." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 558. I'm scared. Wang Fuegui was stunned instantly, his movements were so smooth and skillful, it was heartbreaking. "Get up." Lu Shushan said coldly, "Fei Xian said that I want to save face for you outside. I think it makes sense. If anything happens, let's talk about it when we get home." "Okay, thank you for your generosity, wife." Wang Fuegui stood up quickly and stood behind Lu Shushan. At the beginning, Wang Fuegui was not a cultivator, not even an ancient warrior, and was beaten to pieces by Lu Shushan. But now, he is already a cultivator and can beat Lu Shushan long ago. The reason why Wang Fuegui wants to become stronger is to deal with the violent girl Lu Shushan. But after he really thought he was strong, he was reluctant to fight back against Lu Shushan, so he was very prominent in the family. At this moment, Wang Fuegui squeezed Lu Shushan's shoulders and said with a flattering smile, "Honey, why are you here at this time? Didn't I hear that you entered the top 10? I wanted to come and see you play." Mentioning this matter, Lu Shushan couldn't help but show a touch of pride on her face. The man he liked became famous in the 100 sex martial arts competition, proving that he had chosen the right man. But then, Lu Shushan rolled her eyes at Wang Fuegui and said, "Wang Fuegui, you are too useless. I came to watch you fight, but you were defeated before I came." "Honey, I just explained it. I was in a hurry and couldn't perform well. Otherwise, it's not certain who will win," Wang Fuegui boasted. "Cut." Lu Shushan pouted, then her eyes fell on Su Yang, and she greeted politely, "Young Master Su." Yes, Su Yang nodded lightly. "Young Master Su." Lu Shushan still looked at Su Yang, as if she had something to say, but hesitated. "What's wrong, Lu Shushan? If you have anything to say, just tell me. With my relationship with young Master Wang, I will definitely help if I can." Su Yang saw that Lu Shushan was in trouble, so he spoke directly. "Young Master Su has a sharp eye." Lu Shushan first complimented Su Yang and then said, "That's it? My father is looking for you to ask for something." "What's the matter?" Su Yang asked, confused. "Not sure." Lu Shushan shook her head and said, "My father didn't tell me. He just said that he would tell you when you get there. My father was afraid that you wouldn't want to see him, so he asked me to tell you something," Lu Shushan added. "What words?" "He said that the Su family's most precious 9-story glazed pagoda is incomplete, and he knows the whereabouts of the 5th-story glazed pagoda." Lu Shushan said this, and then spoke again, "Young Master Su, my father just said casually, don't be angry, he didn't mean to threaten you. My father also told me that whether you agree or not, he will tell you the whereabouts of the 5th floor of the glazed tower," Lu Shushan said carefully, for fear of offending Su Yang. Su Yang frowned slightly when he heard these words. People from the Lu family actually know that the Void Tower is not a complete thing. Isn't that right? Except for the first 3 floors of the Void Tower, the next 6 floors are all made up, and the materials used are very ordinary. Lu Shushan's father is telling the truth. But this matter should be very secret. How could the Lu family know about it? It seems that it is necessary to meet Lu Shushan's father. Thinking of this, Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Where is your father?" "It's in the city." "I can take you to see him," Lu Shushan said politely. "Okay." Su Yang nodded and agreed. "Honey, I'm going too at this time," Wang Fugui next to him said. "What are you going to do?" "Just stay here. You'd better not leave Wudang in the near future, otherwise it will be very dangerous." Lu Shushan continued, "You are a cultivator, and many people miss you. Plus, you kept playing the Suana during the competition. Do you know how much those geniuses hate you? Besides, my father's discussion with young Master Su is quite secretive. I can't even listen to it. There's no point in talking about it." Lu Shushan finally said, "Just wait for me here. I will send young Master Su over and I will come back to accompany you." "That's okay," Wang Fugui nodded obediently. In this way, Su Yang and Lu Shushan left Wudang Mountain together. Accompanying him is Ali, who is responsible for protecting Su Yang, just in case. "Brother Fugui, she is your wife. She is very beautiful. But what happened to you just now? You gave in too quickly," Zhang Magu said contemptuously as he watched the 2 people leave. "What does it mean to be cowardly? Brother Mugu, if you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. I am obviously trying to avoid danger." "How wise," Wang Fugui said seriously. "Haha, you are so good." Zhang Magu patted Wang Fugui on the shoulder and said, "Let's go, the game is over anyway, I'll treat you to a drink." "TCH, who wants to drink with a bachelor like you? Didn't you hear what my wife said? She will be back with me in a moment. I'm going to take a bath, spray on perfume, and get ready to enjoy the world together." After saying that, Wang Fugui dropped Zhang Magu and walked away alone. "Damn it, who is the bachelor?" "I." Zhang Magu was about to retort, but he soon realized this serious question, "I seem to be really a bachelor. Damn it. Do I deserve to be laughed at if I don't have a girlfriend these days? I don't accept it." After complaining, Zhang Magu also left the scene angrily, planning to wander around to see if he could pick up a girlfriend. As for the battle between Fozawuji and Ximen Longjian, it is still going on. The 2 tested each other, both hiding their strength, and seemed to be competing for patience. Whoever failed to hold back first would lose the opportunity. It is worth mentioning that Ximen Longjian has already used the 8th form of the Hunyuan divine skill, and his moves are extremely powerful, indeed more powerful than his younger brother Zime and Huxiao. The other side. Su Yang and Ali, led by Lu Shushan, soon arrived at a restaurant in the city. The Lu family has been living in Kyoto for many years and has accumulated a lot of wealth. This restaurant is the Lu family's property. In the VIP box of the restaurant, Su Yang met Lu Shushan's father, Lu Julu. Master Su, I have long admired your name. After seeing Su Yang, Lu Julu stood up in a hurry, clasped his hands in his fists, and greeted Su Yang politely. Lu Julu, I am Chu Tian's father. Please take a seat, and I will arrange for the food to be served. You don't have to eat. Su Yang waved his hand, his eyes fell on Lu Julu, and said calmly, who told you those words? You asked Lu Shushan to tell me. Haha, Mr. Su is indeed a cheerful person. Lu Julu showed a smile, then looked at Lu Shushan and said, Chu Tian, you go down first. No one is allowed to get even half a step closer to the box. Yes. Lu Chu nodded at the dessert, then left the box and arranged for someone to guard outside. As for himself, he left the restaurant and went to Wudaing ancient town to find Wang Fuegui. Master Lu, can we talk now? At this time, Su Yang asked again, full of doubts in his heart. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 559. At this moment, Su Yang, Ali and Lu Julu were the only three people left in the restaurant box. Lu Julu looked at Ali. Although he had just arrived in Wudaing, he also knew that Ali was Su Yang's protector and was very powerful. Therefore, he did not let Ali avoid him, but moved his eyes to look at Su Yang. Mr. Su, our Lu family in Kyoto actually has a long history and is not a small section. At this time, Lu Julu said, decades ago, our Lu family occupied Beishan. We have a profound foundation and can be compared with Ime Wudaing. It's just that I fell into despair later. Someone forced their way into Beishan and used cruel methods. All the masters of my Lu family were killed or injured. Lu Julu sighed and said, in the end, under the protection of the ancestors, the Lu family preserved the inheritance, but also lost Beishan. After leaving Beishan, the Lu family gradually declined. As the masters of the family died one after another, the Lu family became worse and worse day by day. Alas! At the end, Lu Julu sighed again. Oh! Su Yang heard Wang Fuegui say something about the Lu family, and was a little confused at this time. Since Yu Beishan is so strong, the person who occupied Beishan must be at least a land martial god, and he is also the best among the land martial gods. In this case, why did you try to please Zhang Changsheng in the first place, and even let Lu Shushan marry Zhang Changsheng? Su Yang frowned and said, with Zhang Changsheng's strength, he is completely unqualified to participate in the so-called famous mountain challenge for your Lu family. Master Su, Zhang Changsheng does not have the qualifications, but his master does. Lu Julu explained, maybe you don't know, but Zhang Changsheng is not an orphan. He has a master who comes from the 10 ancient clans and is the head of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Yao. On the surface, Dongfang Yao is Zhang Changsheng's master, but as far as I know, they are father and son. Lu Julu continued, in his early years, Dongfang Yao traveled around the world and met an ordinary girl. The two had a very deep relationship. Dongfang Yao wanted to take her back to the ancient clan. Unfortunately, the Dongfang family is one of the top 10 ancient clans. Dongfang Yao as the future patriarch, marriage should not be trivial, so the people in the Dongfang family disliked the girl and drove her away. Facing the opposition of his family, Dongfang Yao resisted desperately and was willing to give up everything for love, even his status as the young patriarch. Unfortunately, it was of no avail and he could only watch the girl being sent away. Moreover, the Dongfang family also used that girl to force Dongfang Yao to marry the young lady of the Nangong family. If he didn't agree, he would kill the girl. Lu Zhulo continued, there is no other way. The two of them can only separate. When Dongfang Yao really takes power, he will secretly send people to find the girl. Unfortunately, that girl has died, leaving behind a teenage child. The child is Zhang Changshen, who looks very similar to Dongfang Yao. Dongfang Yao understood instantly that Zhang Changshen was the child born to him by his former lover. He originally wanted to take Zhang Changshen back to the Dongfang family, but he was afraid that his wife would be angry. After all, the Nangong family is also one of the top 10 ancient clans, so Dongfang Yao secretly taught Zhang Changshen martial arts and even gave Zhang Changshen a treasure called the Kangkayang sword. Lu Zhulo told Zhang Changshen's origin in one breath. Actually, I regretted this idea as soon as it came out. Unfortunately, Zhang Changshen took it seriously and decided to marry Chu Tian. I couldn't stop him. It's like this, Mr. Su, our Lu family comes from Beishan, and Beishan is rich in products. At this time, Lu Zhulo smiled bitterly and said, Zhang Changshen's biological father is Dongfang Yao. I originally wanted to marry Chu Tian to him, so that I could win Dongfang Yao's favor and ask him to come forward and regain Beishan for our Lu family. When Su Yang heard this, he smiled softly, and then said, you haven't answered me yet, how do you know that the 9-story glazed tower is incomplete? Chu Tian is my most beloved daughter. If it weren't for the helplessness, who would be willing to use their own flesh and blood as a bargaining chip? He. Su Yang said coldly, I don't have the ability to take back Beishan, but I use my daughter's happiness to win the favor of others. Ha ha ha, are you worthy of being a father? That tall and powerful man has a pretty good personality and he talked a lot with my ancestors, Lu Zhulo added. Tell me, what's his name? Su Yang asked eagerly. Well, of course I know, Lu Zhulo nodded in response. After hearing Lu Zhulo's words, combined with the information he had learned before, Su Yang had a vague guess about the identity of the powerful man, but he was not sure yet. Lu Zhulo said seriously, Dongfang Yao dotes on Zhang Changshen very much and makes up for all his debts to his former lover on Zhang Changshen. He said it was not the time yet, and no one could take it away before the time came. Lu Zhulo said, I was not born yet, and my ancestors told me this, and there will be no lies. What Mr. Su taught me is that I have deeply realized my mistakes, Lu Zhulo said repentantly. After getting Lu Zhulo's answer, Su Yang suddenly felt a chill in his heart, and many things in his mind became clear. Lu Zhulo quickly waved his hand and expressed his position, Master Su saved Chu Tian, I am grateful. The big shot didn't mention his name, he just mentioned his title. He claimed to be the Immortal Emperor, from outside the territory, and was called the Xiantian Immortal Emperor. Lu Zhulo did not hide anything. Furthermore, the great man who reaches the sky also said something. Originally, the 9-story glazed tower had another name, called the Void Tower. If you want revenge, just let him come. Does your ancestor know his name? Su Yang suddenly asked. Su Yang frowned and said, since that person knows the whereabouts of the 5th floor tower, why didn't he take it away? Lu Zhulo then said, the great man who reached the sky also said bluntly that there is a layer of tower body in Beishan, which is the 5th layer of the tower body, and it is still buried deep in Beishan mountain. Really? Don't you blame me for ruining your good deeds? Su Yang raised his eyebrows and said, if I hadn't gone to Kyoto and killed Zhang Changshen, your wishful thinking would have most likely succeeded. Don't you hate me? I see. You killed Zhang Changshen. I can check this news. It must have reached Dongfang Yao's ears a long time ago. He will definitely seek revenge on you. No no no. Lu Zhulo stopped pretending and replied, your great-grandfather, Senior Su Wuzi, once went to Beishan with a very powerful man and asked us to help collect some materials. My ancestors knew those materials after careful questioning. Is used to repair the 9-story glazed tower. He. When the great man from Tongtian came to Earth, the void tower was torn apart. Only 3 floors were left intact, and the other 6 floors were scattered everywhere. Su Yang nodded and smiled softly. No wonder Zhang Changsheng owns the sky sword. It was originally a gift from the 10 ancient clans. Master Su, speaking of this matter, I want to remind you to be careful of Dongfang Yao. Why? Xiantian Immortal Emperor. Master Lu, with all due respect, you are both responsible and established. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 560. More than once, Su Yang heard the news about the powerful person in the sky. It was even the powerful person in the sky who asked his great-grandfather Suwuji to abandon the Void Tower and challenge the nascent Soul Thunder Tribulation while fighting against the ominous situation. This big man who reaches the sky is said to be so strong that he can compete with the 3 immortal emperors from outside the territory. But how could there be such a powerful person on Earth? Su Yang was puzzled, but now he understands. It turns out that this so-called big shot is Su Yang himself. He came to Earth more than 100 years ago and helped Earth fight against the immortal emperor from outside the territory. Besides, the soul-locking formation and the 5 elements chain formation in Wudane Mountain were arranged by him at that time. However, since he came to Earth back then, why was he reborn again without that memory? Su Yang knew very well that the current memories in his mind were coherent. He was trapped in the 9 nether hell for nearly 100,000 years. In a rage, he chose to self-destruct and blew up the 9 nether hell. Later, Su Yang was reborn in the Su family on Earth, in the body of a super playboy. From his rebirth to now, Su Yang has always thought that it was just a coincidence that he was reborn in the Su family. Now it seems that this is not a coincidence, but a painstaking arrangement. As for the reason, Su Yang couldn't figure it out. He couldn't remember what happened that year. Wang Yangming must know. He said he would come to me in a few days. I must ask clearly. After making up his mind, Su Yang stopped thinking about it and planned to talk about it later when Wang Yangming came over. Mr. Su, what I said is absolutely true. I didn't lie to you. Lu Zhulu continued, the 5th floor of the 9-story glazed pagoda is right under Beishan. You are a descendant of the Su family, and you must know about the 9-story glazed tower. I guess you must be interested in the 5th-story void tower, so I used this as an excuse to ask my daughter to invite you here. Lu Zhulu continued, that person said back then that no one can take the 5th floor unless there is an opportunity. More than 100 years have passed now, Mr. Su, I'm not sure if you can take the 9-story glazed tower, Lu Zhulu added. Well, you don't have to worry about this. I will go to Beishan. I am determined to win the 5th floor. Su Yang looked at Lu Zhulu, and then asked, Master Lu, Lu Shushan said before that you have something to ask of me, do you want me to take back Beishan for you? Now that Mr. Su has seen through it, I won't be coy about it. Lu Zhulu felt a little embarrassed, and then said, our Lu family is the descendant of the royal family. Beishan has belonged to the Lu family since ancient times. But now, the property left by our ancestors has been occupied by outsiders. I, the current head of the family, am another loser. Lu Zhulu sighed and said, there is no way, Mr. Su, I have to ask for help. I hope you will help the Lu family for the sake of Chu Tian and my son-in-law Wang Fugui. He. When Su Yang heard this, he smiled and said calmly, I can help, but after the matter is completed, all the things containing spiritual energy in Beishan, such as energy stones and old medicinal materials, must belong to me. This. When Lu Zhulu heard this, he hesitated for a few seconds, then gritted his teeth and said, okay, we don't need those things anyway. Our Lu family is currently all ancient warriors. Lu Zhulu nodded, finally made up his mind to leave his life and fortune in Su Yang's hands, and strode out of the box. In addition, After the end of the 100 sex martial arts competition, the ancient martial arts world has undergone changes. Ximen Fenjian is very ambitious. Will he really let the number one in the 100 sex martial arts competition dominate the ancient martial arts world? Lujula was taken aback and turned to smile bitterly. Master Su, I'm afraid you don't know something. That's okay. Lujula looked puzzled. Well, what are you doing in Beishan at this time? It goes without saying that Wang Fugui is my best brother. There is no one else. I will not treat him badly, Su Yang said calmly. That puts me at ease. Beishan is not far from here. If you fly, you can get there in a few hours. If we leave now, we can come back tonight without affecting the game. It's just that I hope Mr. Su can leave some of the energy stones. The sons I gave birth to are all incompetent. I'm afraid the future burden of the Lu family will have to be handed over to my son-in-law Wang Fugui. There is also the old poisonous person Lin Yuan, this old immortal, who knows what he is planning, and he cannot be on guard. Not long after, Lujulu appeared again and took Su Yang and Ali out of the box. Ali didn't say anything after hearing this. Afterwards, a group of 3 people took a helicopter, soared into the sky, and flew towards Beishan. Lujulu said, he is a cultivator, and leaving some energy stones will help him improve his strength. On Wudang Mountain, Lan Miaoi possesses the evil spirit stone and wants to release the death energy in the evil spirit stone. The 10 major ancient tribes will definitely come to Wudang Mountain. Will they watch the ancient martial arts world develop in a good direction? No need, just arrange a helicopter and you can come with me. After Lujula was briefly surprised, he finally nodded and said, okay, Mr. Su, as you see it, I will go back to Kyoto now and inform my ancestor to follow you to Beishan. Let's go suddenly, Su Yang said. Lujula continued, if you want to take back Beishan, you can only pass the famous mountain challenge and defeat the current foundation of Beishan. Then you can legitimately occupy Beishan. Huh? Lujula was stunned and asked in confusion, Master Su, where are you going? I know this, but this year's famous mountain challenge may not be held as scheduled. Su Yang smiled and said, I also want to see if there is really a 5th floor of the Void Tower under Beishan. If we go together, there shouldn't be a big problem. Su Yang said, besides, we don't do it openly, we go in quietly, and I conquer the masters in Beishan now, isn't that enough? Because he had a feeling that it would be very difficult for him to set foot on foundation building. The energy stones in the storage ring may not be enough, so it would be better to reserve more. Beishan, Su Yang said calmly. Su Yang urged, I have to rush back to participate in the 100 sex martial arts competition tomorrow. Time is tight. You can contact the helicopter. Although the evil spirit stone was sealed by Su Yang, it was still a hidden danger. Therefore, Su Yang plans to go to Beishan now to learn about Beishan's heritage and buy some energy stones. What? Of course I want to take back Beishan for your Lu family, Su Yang smiled softly. Master, do you really want to go to Beishan at this time? Ali asked. Although my ancestor was seriously injured back then and has not recovered yet, he still has the strength of the divine section. One more person will increase his chance of winning, Lujulu said. All in all, although Wudang is calm now, the end of the 100 sex martial arts competition is a signal. No one can be sure of what will happen then. Beishan is a registered orthodox famous mountain. There is a rule in the ancient martial arts world that no one can openly seize the orthodox famous mountains. Otherwise, he will become the enemy of the entire ancient martial arts world.